All right, let's see. All right, let me check. Is the volume working now? All right. So just here for another live stream today. It's been a while since I've did one. So I figured I'd figure I could do one today. Yo, what's up? How you doing? But yeah, man, it's just Sunday here. So I figured that it's a good day to do a live stream. Let's see real quick. Let me grab something off one side. Oh man. And my drink for this morning here on my side, I got one of these Angry Orchard crisp apple beers here. They're actually pretty damn good. So I figured I'd pick a pack of them up. I believe what was it, like $12, right? You get six of them for $12. Do math on that, like $2 each. Which isn't terrible. Right? That's definitely not terrible for 'em. What is funny when I started the live stream, I put a link in the chat, but it was telling me, oh, we're having connection issues and all of that. It's like connection issues. Oh, what the hell y'all having connection issues? I mean, shit, you're getting your $80 a month for the service. So why the hell should there be any like disruptions or issues with connecting to the service? They're paying 80 damn dollars a month for. You know what I'm saying? Like, something else that pisses me off is you can only have like two people using the internet at one time. Um if you have any more than that, then of course there's some disruptions and whatever. But it shouldn't be that way. Like say for instance, like I should be able to play a an online multiplayer game whenever I feel like doing, and there shouldn't be any type of problem with that. Which, first of all, let's start off with this. Anybody notice like any of my guys out there that play, Xbox Live, PlayStation Plus, any of these other, gaming consoles out there? How you doing, Luke? Hope you're doing well. But I don't know if any of y'all happen to notice, but now what they're doing, oh well, I mean, it's not like it happened yesterday, but over the past, 10 years or so, maybe even longer, you had to pay for like an online service in order to like play multiplayer, right? So it used to be at some point, or for many games, you just had to have, access to the internet in order to, play worldwide multiplayer. But now you got to pay a damn, extra fee for the service as well. Like say for instance, like just yesterday, my free month subscription came through for what was it, PlayStation Live, and it got to pay 27 damn dollars every 3 months just to be able to use the multiplayer interaction. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be that way. It's just the extra unnecessary cost and a fee. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to play the shit should come with just having the internet service that we're paying, $80 a month for. You know what I'm saying? It's just yeah, hey, everywhere you look, there's just a fee and a tax. Right? Hey, America is not the home of the brave and the land of the free. America is the land of the tax and the home of the fee. That's what America is, right? The home of the tax and the land of the fee. Right? Every damn thing you do out here is a constant tax and a fee on everything. I really don't know how people are living out here, in America these days, man. You got knuckleheads out here like that knucklehead too cheesy from a few streams ago. Oh, everybody should be, grateful and thankful that the government will pay you, $9 an hour. You should all be grateful for that. Oh, what do you mean that they're stealing from us? So what do you mean that the, multi-billionaires and, people that run the country, like, what do you mean that they're actually stealing from us? I mean, people like that are just really just there's something else, man. It's just really something else. It's really just strange to me to even comprehend that there's, peons out here, or as the dude on the live chat earlier in my game was calling them nugs, right? Nugs will be nugs, right? It's funny. The guy was talking about the enemy team and saying, "Oh, these guys are a bunch of nugs, living in the slums of Africa." It's like, damn, that's a hard roast right there. Shit, like this one meme I saw, the guy messaged the guy because he got pissed off at him, and the guy messaged him and said, I would say that your aim is cancer, but cancer actually kills people. It's like, damn, where the hell did he come up with that roast? What I find funny, like I had people contact me out of the game that got, pissed off because, I'm slam dunking on them. You know, uh hell, I got them, they got me 0 times, I got them 10 times, for lack of better terms, right? So yeah, a handful of people that are out of the game, they go out the way to waste their time to, send you a direct message on like the messenger on the PS4, like, oh, well, I'll report you for scamming or, nice cheats. It's like, no, knucklehead, ain't no cheats involved. It's just I got skills and you don't. I got skills and you don't got skills. And that's just what it is. If you want to cry like a little pansy about that, then be my guest. But hey, it's you that got the skill issue. Oh man. All right, let's see. Luke said there are church divisions everywhere. Yeah, everywhere you look, there's a division. Everywhere you look on basically like every topic at this point, there's a division between church and the church down the road and the church up the street from there. Everybody's teaching something different, but at the same time, they're all teaching relatively similar. Like, I'll give an example. While it's true that some of them might teach different when it comes to, um, say, like certain subjects, like regarding rainbow marriage or, what foods you can and cannot eat, but the message that they have as like the basics is all the same. That you have to believe in Jesus and, all the, the law doesn't really, it's not important for salvation. You just got to believe in Jesus. And, most of them also hold to that Trinity, right? Believe that Christ is the God fully, right? Just in human form. And of course, all of them have that white picture of Jesus hanging up on the wall. Like I was just watching a video the other day, and this guy was like showing the, like some of the slums over in the Philippines, right? And there was a church that the dude went in, and they had the pictures of white Jesus on the wall, the Last Supper picture, crosses everywhere, and it was funny because in the cafeteria they were serving up, lizard, a bat, uh, reptiles, like snakes, snails, cat, dog. Of course, we can't forget that bacon as well. So they were serving up all that stuff, while believing in Christ. It's like, I mean, hey, brings to mind, man, just because someone says that they believe, it doesn't mean that they actually do. But these free gracers, oh, it's just confession of the mouth, saved forever. Right? Like I was talking to this one dude last stream. I believe this guy, his name was Mike, called him. And he was saying, oh, yeah, if somebody said they believe when they were like 7 years old, and, even if, 20 years later they leave the faith and become an atheist, oh, well, they're still saved forever. Right? They're still saved forever. I mean, it's like, it's just sad and childish to me that, people are so brainwashed and ignorant that they're not capable of seeing through this clear, lies and deception. Like, sorry, man, but I understand that it, tickles the ears and it is, sweet to hear that you just gotta believe for, a couple days and saved forever. Like, hey, if you want to believe that and you believe that, but I mean that's just not reality. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just the truth of the situation. Just saying a couple words does not save you for your entire life. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so hilarious to me. Like say for instance, like some of these churches have something called the sinner's prayer, which is, like a prayer you can repeat and they'll tell you, well, yeah, once you repeat this phrase, all your sins are forgiven and you're saved forever. It's like, okay, well, like what if um like a Satanist was to say that, but then they still continue to worship Satan? Like, are they now saved forever because they said the sinner's prayer, but yet still follow Satan? According to these guys, oh yeah, like this guy even told me that this guy Aleister Crowley, which is like one of the founders of the Freemasonry. I asked him, it's like, okay, well, Aleister Crowley at some point in his life likely believed. So is like he saved forever, or like is he not, or like what do you got to say? He's like, oh yeah, if he really did believe, then he's saved forever. He is saved forever. It just complete stupidity and just complete nonsense. What people out here believe, man. It's just really sad. Here, bear with me for a second. All right, let's see. Oh man. So he's church hopping. I mean, hey man, well, I would advise you to do is not go to any of these churches at all, man. That would be the wise thing for you to do. It's just not go to any of these, as Great Millstone will call them, harlot houses. That's just a wise thing. Because the truth is that there's really no churches out here that are teaching correctly according to the Bible. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some who might have some things correct that they say, but most of the things they say are not true. Like, I'll guarantee you something, every church that you go to, they're going to deliberately, or let me reframe myself, not deliberately, but ignorantly tell you a lie. Where they're going to tell you, oh, God loves everybody. Everybody in the world can be saved. God doesn't hate the sinner; He hates the sin. Um, well, all this stuff, right? All this stuff. It's it's just stupid. But don't believe what these guys are telling you, man. That's all I can tell you. All right, bear with me a second. Yo, man, are you there?
Yeah, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing all right. Just waiting for work this morning. Sunday morning. Waiting for work. Basically. Uh, yeah. How's your week been?
Yeah, I mean it's same old, man. Just same thing every other week over here. How about yourself?
Yeah, same thing, man. You know, waiting for work. Work every day. To pay bills. So you know how those bills are, man. When it's time to
Oh yeah, I hear you.
when
I
it's
hear you.
time to pay bills. The rent here. Rent. Insurance bills. I have car. I have over here in California. I don't know if it's like that in every state, but if you have points on your license, your insurance rates go up the roof. So I'm paying like close to $500 for a month just to drive my car, just to be able to drive my car that I own. So it's not a car payment. I own the car. It's just that I can't drive it unless I pay the insurance company close to $500 monthly. So yeah, so I
Right.
have to, which leads me to having to work every day just to pay my bills, basically, at the moment.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's definitely a tough situation over there. I hear you.
Yeah, but I joined because do have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering if you knew anything about High Priest Ariel.
Peace story. Yeah, I know that he was one of the top heads of the One West school. But what about him?
Well, I was wondering if you know what happened to him. Why didn't he continue teaching, or why did he fall out, or is he dead? What happened?
I mean, to be fair, I wasn't there, so I don't really have the answer to that. You might have to ask some of the people who actually attended the school. But as far as what I know from hearing from the people who were there, they don't really specify as to why he stopped teaching. And as far as if he's alive, I believe he's still alive today. But some camps teach that he's no longer like a man of the Lord, or he might have fell out, or again, they all give like different variations and answers to that question. But yeah, say that he's probably still alive from what I'm hearing. And as far as why he fell out, they all give like different answers as to why he doesn't teach anymore.
What's one of the answers that you've heard that why he doesn't teach
Well,
anymore?
some camps I hear said that like the Lord took the knowledge from him, right? That he's not really a man of the Lord anymore. Some people say that he's just up in age, so he like passed the stick to someone else to teach, or stuff like that, right? Again, it varies from organization that you ask as to what they'll tell you about it, but that's some of the theories they have as to why.
Oh, okay, man. I've always been confused about High Priest Ariel. I'm like, because like he seems to be an important figure of of the faith, and it's been mind-boggling for me not to have these answers, and still not have any answers. I went online and to see if I can look up videos of him, and if you Google his name, videos will pop up, and old videos of him teaching with the Apostle Tahar will pop up, and you know like I think some videos say he's dead. Like 2 year, I was like two videos. I just looked at like two. I haven't looked at them, like, but I know that they are there. I haven't clicked to watch them, but I know that they are there, and the title reads "Rest in Peace, High Priest Ariel." So I was,
Yeah, I'll have to check that out, man. Last time I've heard about him was like 3 years ago. They brought him up on some of their videos. So if anything happened since then, I'd have to check to be up to date with that.
oh, okay. It was just kind of, I was wondering. He seems to be a mysterious man, and I was just kind of
Right,
curious about him, but
right. I hear you.
and then I think that I did have like one more question regarding the
Yeah, go
faith,
ahead.
but um,
Yeah, if you got something, you can mention it.
yeah, I can't really remember at the top of my head right now because I did have one more question, but I always seem to forget. But yeah, I think that was it. I mean, um, yeah, that was it. I do have one more question, but I just can't think of it right now. Because I forgot to. When you think about it and then you forget to write it down, and then you just kind of multitask, and then you forget what the question was. That's part of what happened. So it
Yeah, I
was
hear you,
regarding the
man.
it was
That's
regarding
fine.
the faith, though, and I just forgot. But
Yeah, that's
that was
cool.
it, man. I just came up here for that. Just wanted to know if you knew anything about High Priest Ariel, and but see,
Yeah,
nobody
that's
seems to
cool,
know.
man.
Nobody seems to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, again, I'd recommend you ask some of the guys that might have contact with the individual, and they might be able to answer that question, such as maybe Great Millstone or the ISUPK might be able to answer. Like, say, for instance, the ISUPK, they claim to be like the original school, right? That he was from back from '69. So you'd have to ask them about that. They perhaps they could give you the answer for that question.
Oh, I didn't know that they claimed IUCPK, or I can't even say it. Is it Israel? What does it stand for? Israel
It's
United in
no,
Christ.
that you're thinking of IUIC. That's Israel United in Christ, but the ISUPK stands for Israelite
Universal.
School of Universal Practical Knowledge.
Okay, Israelite school. Yeah, of universal practical knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, their
Okay.
leader today is General Johanna, but again, they claim to be the original school that goes back to the '60s. So they might be able to answer your question regarding the individual.
Okay, I might have to call in then. I might have to subscribe to the channel and just
Yeah, well, just
and
so
then
you know, which by
call.
the way, I'm not affiliated with them. I disagree with them on a number of subjects, but I'd recommend you ask them because they might be more familiar with it since they claim to be the founders, the original founders from the organization back in the '60s. But if you want to call into their show, their YouTube channel where they do weekly live streams is called Cross the Line Radio, and they're live every Thursday night at about like 10 p.m.
We'll have to do that cross the line radio. Thursday nights,
Yeah, Thursday night, typically at like 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Pacific.
Eastern Standard.
Okay, so that'd be 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, I might have to call him in and ask about this because I'm just kind of curious, man. You know what I mean? Because he seems to be an important figure, and and then nobody really everyone seems to have forgotten about him for one reason or another. Like it would be interesting to know his full story as to like when he started declining. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. I understand what you're saying. But yeah, man, I recommend that you call into their live stream. Which, by the way, they don't use StreamYard. You have to call in with like an actual phone number, but they share it on the screen, and you can just call the number with your question or comment.
Okay, so he's kind of like they're kind of like what's the name of that guy? Tasariak, Captain Tasariak. I don't even know if I'm saying it.
He's one of the leaders in that school. He's one. Say for instance, if you call into the number, it's likely that he'll be the one to answer the phone.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Hopefully he's not drinking or or too. I know he likes to drink that liquor,
Right, I hear you.
which is nothing wrong in moderation. But
Right, right, I hear you. But yeah, man, it's good
all right,
to hear
man.
from
Well,
you.
well, that was my question for today, man. I'll step aside and let you continue your build. That was it for today. I gotta stay focused on work. I'll listen in, man. You have a good
All
day.
right, all right, cool, cool. You as well, man. Let's see. I'll drop him down. Okay. Yeah, it was a good question. Um, so yeah, I'd recommend that Manny just asks the ISUPK. They might be able to give him an answer for that question because they claim to personally know the individual. Okay, let me check here. Gotta check something in the back chat real quick. Yeah, typically I like to do these streams at nighttime, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to do one in the morning time if if you find the time available to do it. It doesn't hurt to do one live in the morning, but yeah, can't always do that. We got people tuning in from all over the world. Like I believe that Manny said he's in California. We got Luke, which he's over in Australia. So we got people tuning in all over the world. Shit, I remember a few months ago I even got a comment. Somebody was saying, well, greetings from Wuhan. I was thinking Wuhan. Oh, that should ring some bells. right? Anybody remember 2020? Right, Wuhan. You should know. Yeah, that should instantly remind you of 2020. But it shows we got people, tuning in, listening, from all over the world. It reminds me, speaking of the world, the other day I happened to stop at a yard sale, like there were, just cleaning up at the end of the day, right? Just, tossing some stuff out. So they had like, 10 boxes of, free stuff there that you could, rummage through and see if you find anything that you want to just take for free, So I just happened to stop, look through, see what's there. It's like leftovers from the 2 yard sale days that nobody picked up. And I happened to find like a globe, and it was broken off at its stand, so I have to like make a makeshift stand for it. But I happened to find it, and it's actually a pretty damn old one. Um, like say for instance, the Soviet states are still all considered as one, right? They're all like highlighted in yellow, right? Like Ukraine's still considered to be part of the Soviet Union on it. So that's got to be an old globe there, because I know on the maps and globes they're making today, they don't have the Soviet territories still labeled as such. So I figured, what the hell, I've been looking for one of these globes. Like I was looking on Amazon for a globe to put in my office. Which, before there's any numbskull in the comment, oh, well, shoot, ETT sold out to the globe. It's like, no, dummy, I don't believe in the globe, but it's so good to have one for demonstration purposes. Like, say, for instance, if I need to show like a distance between a place to place for a video or something, or just a math equation, right? Maybe we could see if too far, and you could calculate the distance. Excuse me. It's just overall a good thing to have a physical globe model. It doesn't mean you believe in it, but it's just good to have one. Like I'll give an example. Like even these guys who are fully sold out to the globe, and will defend it with their life. Even some of these guys have, a flat Earth model, flat Earth map, in their room, not because they believe it, but so they can use it as a demonstration purpose if they need to bring it up in like a conversation or a video or whatever. Even David Weiss, what's this guy, Durf, right, which is like one of these top popular flat earthers on YouTube. When you watch this guy's presentations, when he does these like, globe chats and flat earth introduction interviews or whatever, the little stand that he has a computer on, he has like a little basket that he has like globes and flat discs and measuring tools in that he uses for like demonstration purposes. So yeah, man. Oh, I want to mention this as well. Like this knucklehead, Mr. Jill. Me and him were going back and forth in the comments the other day, which, I don't mind somebody leaving a comment and, maybe we'll go back and forth, 5, 6 comments. That's okay. But, I don't really have time to send somebody 100 messages back and forth. I mean, hey, look, if you want to talk about whatever it is, just click the link and come up here and we can have a conversation about whatever the topic is of disagreement. And I offer the same thing with all these different individuals, whether you want to talk about the rapture, whether you want to talk about, Christ being black, whether you want to talk about who salvation's for, whether you want to talk about who Babylon is, age of consent rules, well, quote unquote, age of consent rules, because that's just fabricated, but that's not the topic of today's stream. Um, because again, these are topics that everybody wants to, be up in arms and rage in the comments about when we talk about the facts. And then when you drop the link for people to join and have a conversation about these topics that they want to, be a keyboard warrior for in the comment section, all of a sudden nobody wants to click the link and have a conversation about these topics. Like one thing I absolutely agree with Deacon Hakah, or I should call him Priest Hakah now, because now he like evolved, right? Now he's not a deacon anymore. Now he's a priest, apparently. One thing he says that's absolutely correct is that everybody wants to run their mouth in the comment section. Everybody wants to sound all, big and tough in the comments. But then once that link drops for people to join and actually talk, voice to voice about whatever the topic is, now everybody gets scared and, makes excuses and, doesn't want to come up and have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just find that to be just childish and pathetic to me. Right? I just find that to be childish and pathetic. Here, let me see something real quick. Yeah, I gotta go on mute just a second here. It's funny. I just heard like a big crash or something. I was like, what the hell is that? Did the damn TV fall off the wall or something? Had to go check what it is. Apparently, it's from like next door or something. So it's like, okay. It's funny. Like, it couldn't happen any other time during the day. But of course, the hour I'm on here doing a live stream, all this bullshit has to happen. But, not an hour before, not an hour after, but, just when I'm on here with my limited time, right? Speaking of TVs, um, the TV that I have is like a Samsung TV that I actually got from a church yard sale when I was like 12 or something. Yeah, I paid like $50 for it. I paid 50 damn dollars for it. And I've had it for about 11 years now. I had about 11 years, and I don't know how many years the person had it before I bought it, but I imagine the TV is probably like 15, 16 years old or something like that by now. Um, but yeah, I can't complain with it. It works smoothly. There's no remote for it, but the controls are on the side of the TV. I mean, it can't complain. It does what I need it to do. A good TV for $50. Another thing that pissed me off is when I hook up the PS4 to the TV. The PS4 works good except for the YouTube app, right? I click on YouTube and try to watch a damn video, and regardless of what video I put on, like every 20 seconds, the the bar across the bottom, like for you, the length of the video bar will pop up and the video will pause for some reason. Like, I don't know why it happens, but it just does. I was like, okay, so I guess I can't watch YouTube on it. And also another strange reason, I can't watch DVDs on it as well. Like, for whatever reason, the device, the PlayStation, is not capable of playing discs, which doesn't make any sense because why is it that years ago when I had the Xbox 360, it did play DVDs and you could watch YouTube on that. Damn, I wish I still had that. I regret selling that, but hey, what are you gonna do? Um, but yeah, so I had to have a damn DVD player. I got under the TV over there. As far as watching YouTube, I just purchased one of those Amazon Fire Sticks. But I actually got it for a good price. It was like $18, and it was down from like $40. Right, I believe I got it during Cyber Weekend or something like that. Like all the electronics are on sale. So yeah, that was pretty good. I just gotta swap them out. What is it? The HDMI cable. You just gotta switch it out for each device when you want to use it, which, of course, is annoying in my circumstance because I have the TV tucked away in like a corner of my desk. So I gotta like take the whole TV, turn it to the side. Every other day when I want to switch between using the Fire Stick and the PlayStation, pissing me off. But right now I don't have anywhere, else to put the shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what I have to do right now. But speaking of Jill, right, going back to that knucklehead, Jill will sit there, put up all these, comments, using, not even censoring words that he uses. Like, anybody that with common knowledge on YouTube knows there's certain words you can't use. And if you do, you might get censored. YouTube might automatically sense the words you use and take it down off of the app. Like, take your comments, remove them if you use certain words that they don't like, right? So, Joe will sit there and, this and that. And then when the comment is gone, he'll accuse you of, like, deleting his comments. Like, oh, ETT, why do you delete the comment? It's like, no, dude, I didn't delete your damn comment. As a person who also makes YouTube videos, Mr. Jill, you should be aware that sometimes YouTube takes comments down. Like, this isn't something that's hidden. This is like common knowledge that everybody knows at this point, except somehow Mr. Jill don't know about that, right? He apparently he don't know about that for some odd reason. Oh, we'll stop deleting comments. Like, buddy, nobody deletes comments. Well, when I say nobody, I mean like the creators like myself. Nobody's deleting your comments. It's YouTube takes the comment down if you use like sensitive wording in it that they don't approve of. So that's why you need to, watch the words that you use when you put up YouTube comments or even YouTube videos. And you got to watch what you're saying because some things you say could be in violation of some of the policies on here. So you have to, just watch the wording you use. Let me just check something. Okay. Oh, okay. I gotta talk about that. Um, like this guy I mentioned over the past couple of streams, James. It's one of these guys that believes, that September rapture or October rapture is absolutely gonna happen. I offered the guy 10 times to come on stage. He doesn't want to talk. It's like, okay, fair enough. But just like I predicted, just like I predicted, when the rapture didn't happen on the 6th to the 8th, like these guys, quote unquote, predicted and all claimed would absolutely happen. Like this one knucklehead, I believe his name was like New Light Studios or something like that. Knucklehead was like, oh, I am absolutely certain that the rapture's going to happen on the 6th to the 9th. What's the knucklehead telling his audience now? Here we are on the 12th, and no rapture in sight. But all we'll do is just change the date, right? Like James, when I asked him, okay, man, well, when this rapture doesn't happen on the 6th to the 8th, that like you claim now, I hope you'll realize that, you should stop, putting dates on these things. Like, I hope maybe you'll realize then that y'all are making a serious mistake. And, I get back to him, 2 days later, and he's like, well, now I'm betting for like 10 more days. Okay, so, well, what is that? Like, shit, I don't know the exact date that he gave. I don't remember the exact date, but it was like, 10 more days, 10 more days. And then the other night he pointed to, well, look outside, it's a full moon out. It's like, okay, yeah, I see the full moon, but I mean, I've seen the, 500 other days in my life as well. Doesn't mean that the rapture is going to happen next week or something. So, y'all got to just, you know, man up and accept the fact that y'all got it wrong, man. And, if y'all would have been smart, y'all would have just, hearkened to what we were telling you, well, it's overall a foolish imagination to sit there and believe that like anybody knows when the rapture's going to happen. Like this guy, what's this guy? They call him Brother Joshua, which is like this priest that had a quote unquote vision by God of the rapture that was going to happen in September 23rd. Of course, and then he changed it. Well, it's actually October 6th to 8th. And his blind followers just believed him. But now what is he saying? What is the knucklehead saying now? Now here we are at October 12th today. So like what the hell are his followers believing now then? What's he telling them? Oh, it's actually in November. It's like, okay, like, how many times do these guys have to get it wrong for the gullible audience to be able to realize that they're being lied to? You know what I'm saying? Like, you'd think that this is like common knowledge, not to trust knuckleheads that you hear on YouTube talking bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But as the saying goes, common sense is not so common. And don't get me wrong, James is a nice guy, but I mean, you got to be smarter than this, man. Like I don't know how somebody could watch, 20 of my live streams and videos and still be convinced, oh, well, the rapture is going to happen random out of the blue. It's random happen. It could be yesterday, it could be today, it could be tomorrow. It's like, okay, well, like, how do we address the fact that, first of all, Bible says nobody knows when it will happen. It says the angels don't even know, neither does Christ know, but only God knows. Right? Mark 13:32. Read it. Then the Bible also says, gives you a hint. It tells you in Matthew 24:29 that the tribulation, immediately after the tribulation, the rapture happens. So why the hell are we all sitting here talking about, oh, is it before? Is it in the middle? Is it after? Well, the Bible gives us the answer for the question. It says after. It says immediately after. So no, acknowledging the fact that the Bible literally answers the question and says it happens after the tribulation, why are there still a million debates on YouTube about, oh, is it a secret thing? Is it, going to happen before the tribulation? Is it in the middle? Is it after? Like, what's the point of having these million and 10 debates on YouTube about, rapture predictions, pre-trib or post-trib rapture? Like, what's the point of having all these garbage debates when the Bible literally answers the question deliberately? Like, it doesn't get any more clear than that. It completely ends the debate. It says immediately after the tribulation of those days, Christ would return, and then he'll send his angels to gather together his chosen from around the world. I mean, that literally ends the debate. I mean, what left is there to debate about the rapture? Like, I just don't get it. And you ask these guys these questions and there's no answer. Like, say, for instance, I constantly was asking this guy, James, which, by the way, I'll say it again. The guy sends me like 200 messages, over the course of a month. And I asked the guy 10 times if he'd like to come up on live stream and have a conversation. Oh, well, maybe one day, but, Spirit's not guiding me, to do it. It's like, okay, well, how do you know that Spirit guiding you is of God or not? Like, I would imagine that, if you had a spirit on God's right hand side, right, on the good side, that was guiding you, then that would lead you to have a conversation, about these topics. But there's one that's supposedly guiding you to, be slothful and not want to discuss these important matters. Well, you got to ask yourself, is that deceiving you, or is it misleading you? You got to ask those questions, man, because God can send both good and evil spirit. Like we see that in was that First Kings 22, 18, 19. Right? God can send both a good spirit after some people and a negative one. And that's another truth that people don't want to acknowledge. Oh, God is just one emotion. It's all just love and rainbows and, and peaches and rainbows and whatever. It's like, nah, that's just stupid. If you believe that, you're just, blissfully naive and ignorant. That's this whole population out here. Everybody in America is blissfully naive and ignorant. Now, that's how I would describe America. Well, factually, if I had to describe America with one word, right, out of the entire, English dictionary, and, out of the million different words I could use to describe America, if I had to narrow it down to one word, I would call America a scam, right? The one word that I would describe America is a scam. That's what America is. You're scammed on everything in life here, right? You're scammed on insurance. You're scammed on work. You're scammed on rent. You're scammed on internet. Everything is a damn tax and a fee out here. And you can't escape that. Yeah, it says, I believe it's Haggai. It says, "He that earns wages, put in a bag full of holes." Why? Because every time you get paid, the money's like instantly already spent. Like, how many people out here, on Friday they get paid for their 2 or 3 jobs they're working, and then literally by the next day they're already broke and on their ass and have nothing, and are have to take out a loan from somebody or something. You know what I'm saying? Like shit, we all know people doing that shit. Some of us are doing that ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So, it shows you everything out here is just a damn scam. Right? So America, which is Babylon the Great, which is that great city that the Bible says would be destroyed in the end times, right? Revelation 17 and 18. What that's something that the churches are not going to tell you about. Like, seriously, go to church and ask the pastor if America is in the Bible or not. He's gonna not have a clue what you're talking about, most likely. And if he does know what you're talking about, he's gonna tell you some bullshit excuse. Oh, no, man, that's actually the Vatican. Oh, that's the Vatican. You know, it's hilarious. As I said, don't listen to these knucklehead, pastors out here, man. It's funny. Like I was talking to this one dude that was a pastor, and he was saying, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter what you do. We're all going to hell anyway. All right, so it don't matter to live righteously. We're all of us are going to hell anyway." It's like, wow, that's just funny. That is funny. I'll give you another example. The same pastor, his daughters, here it is. They're, watching like some drag queen TV show, and, saying, "Oh, this is a good thing. They should be able to express themselves like that." And, whatever. It's like, wow, I thought that he, raised them to be better than that. But that's what they turned into, is they're openly accepting these things, even though they, grew up in the church and learned that those things were not okay. Again, it's very strange and bizarre out here, man. Like, now today, if you go to some of these churches and even tell some basic things, you're considered a bad guy. Like, say, for instance, in some of these churches, if you go and say that, marriage is between a man and a woman, well, a man and multiple women, Could be either or. It could be a man and multiple women. It could be a man and one woman. But that's a debate for another time. But you tell people this, look at you like you got, nine heads. Like, oh, what do you mean? Marriage could be anything. A guy could marry a smartphone, for Christ's sake, out here in America, which I'm not even being sarcastic. That's literally happened multiple times. Look it up. You know what I'm saying? It's bullshit out here. I'll give you another example. You tell people that there's only two genders that exist. And some of these churches might even look at you like you're bizarre for saying that God made two genders. Oh, what do you mean, man? There's, 10 different genders people could be today. We got to be, open minded, to accept all these members of society. Again, that's the predominant view out here that most churches hold to. And of course, to be fair, there are some exceptions to that. But predominantly, that's the view out here. That you have to be open and accepting to all. Like, seriously, I've seen multiple churches like flying, well, not only flying pride flags outside the church, but also flying banners that say, oh, come as you are, right? We accept all, right? All are welcome, right? Come as you are, all are welcome here. All are welcome. First of all, like, where's the Bible say, come as you are? Like, where the hell's that at in the Bible? Like, you can come serve the Lord while you're, still deliberately living in sin. Like Perry Green, you can, worship Jesus. Even if you're, living in adultery or, smoking weed every day. Oh, man, it don't matter as long as you believe Jesus. I mean, come on, it's like, yeah, you'd think some people are smart enough to be able to see through such lunacy and such, retardation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really just sad and just retarded that people are not smart enough, to see through such lies and clear deception. You'd think people can be smarter than this, but apparently they are not. I just find that to be just sad and bizarre to me, right? I just find everybody out here to be sad and bizarre with the nonsense and garbage ass, views that they hold. Everybody's view is just altered and changed by the state. Like, what I find funny, like, isn't that ironic? Like, everybody out here, their moral compass, right? Their moral views on whatever the subject might be comes down from the state and whatever the local government declares to be true. Like, I'll give a fantastic example. Like, if you were to ask people, say 7 or 8 years ago, about what they thought about buying tobacco when you're 18 and 19, everybody was like, well, yeah, they can do that. They can make their own decisions. But now here it is in 2025 because Trump changed the quote unquote rules about it in 2019. Bear for me a second. Now all of a sudden, oh, well, now you got to be like 21 to buy. And everybody will defend that. Oh, well, what do you mean that, at 18 or 19 or 20, oh, you can't smoke. It's like, well, wait, if I asked your dumb ass the same question 8 years ago, you would say that it was okay. But just like magic, since the government decided that now they think it's different, now you think it's different as well. Could it be you just molded your view because you were indoctrinated and brainwashed to believe in what retards tell you instead of a rational thinking person? Like, seriously, think about that. Like 8, 9, 10 years ago, everybody had no problem with buying tobacco at 18, 19, 20. Oh, that was okay. That was all fine. But then, just like magic, though, in 2019, 2020, everybody's mind magically changed to now, oh, it has to be 21. If it's, 5 weeks before, that's unspeakable and evil. It's like, come on, if you think like that, you're a retard. Like, sorry, but that's what you are. So that's a fantastic example of how everybody's mind and, mental compass magically just changed because, well, the government said so. It's like, that's retarded and stupid. All right, there for a second. Yo, what's up, Noel? You hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Same. Kind of listening on to your ramble. Not to
Yeah,
be in the
man. I mean,
mean Ray, but I don't know what you're. It's an open panel, so I'm like, okay, cool.
yeah, man. I mean, if you got a question or comment, I'm not going to go for much longer. If you got something, I can go for like maybe 20 more minutes. If you got something, but yeah, man, what's on your mind?
Oh, nothing really. Like I said, I just came in just to see what you were spewing or talking
Well,
about.
I seen one thing I'll bring up. I seen that you were doing a live stream. I didn't really get to hear what you was talked about. I did see when, like, say for instance, I held my finger over the video and it played like 30 seconds, and I saw there was like that um A's philosophy or something. You were watching a video from him. Like, what was the conversation there? What was going on?
I believe they were talking about Trinity, essential beliefs. So like, do you need to believe in the virgin birth as a prerequisite in order to be saved?
Oh,
Essentially,
oh,
how much of the truth do you need to have of God in order to be saved? How much of knowing Christ involves believing all these other things to in order to be saved? Are you saved because you believe these things, or are you saved solely because Christ died and resurrected, or is it the command blah blah blah? What are the law
yeah,
works and
I hear
whatnot?
you. It's funny. I was gonna also ask. I saw that Jill was there, and I was gonna ask what he was talking about. But then you mentioned, oh, it was about the Trinity. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that explains why Jill was there, because that's like the only thing he ever talks about.
Yeah, that and free will. Free will is another good one.
Yeah, that's a good
Sorry about
subject
that.
of conversation. No, you're good.
No, I
But yeah,
heard.
man, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you're good.
All right, I was talking about like free will, not free will. I was in Ace Thea's side chat the other day, and I was watching a conversation go down, and someone was making the claim like, how could free rulers do all the blah 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 that they do, right? And they
Yeah.
made a claim that free willers are just like Satan, in that they're vain and whatever. And I'm like, the only way you can make that statement is if there's a free will, because I mind you, I can't type in the side chat, so I'm just thinking, like, you can't even make that statement, because otherwise God has designated them like that. Like, they don't have a free will to be like that, right? That's something God has chosen in their own worldview, because if there is no free will, it's God doing that. And so it's funny, like, in order to make that statement, they already have to have a free will. Right? So it's so like, what are you even saying there? You nuttos. It's so weird.
Right. I hear what you're saying. I mean, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, man. I mean, as far as like these panels on YouTube and stuff, I mean, I'm not really up to date on what's going on there. Whether we're talking about Ace Philosophy, Ace Theo, JG, these other panels out there. I'm not really up to date because I haven't joined one in like, I'll say it's probably been like a month and a half, if not almost 2 months. I've been, not have a lot of time on my hands lately. So I'm not up to date with what's going on in these circles and conversations as of now. That's as
Oh,
far as I know.
pretty much the same old,
Oh, by,
really.
by the way, have you been watching? Have you seen that knucklehead, that preterist dude? I believe his name is like Trufintello's Ministry or something. Have you seen that dude anywhere?
I don't think so.
But hopefully that guy stepped back from YouTube. The knuckleheads. Oh, everything is in the kingdom. It's like, knucklehead. I mean, I don't know how you can believe such stupidity in 2025 with all this, stuff going on around the world. I mean, you should just, chill out a little bit. Maybe take a break from YouTube. Get your mind right. And stop telling people that they shouldn't be concerned about anything because, well, we're in the kingdom now. So hopefully he stepped back. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's a weird one to say, that we're in the kingdom now. Like, we're, if anything, we're like outside the kingdom, right? We might be
Right.
spiritually aligned in the kingdom, but that doesn't make us a part of the kingdom that is to come, right? because there hasn't been
Right.
the coming yet, the reckoning. So it's like, yeah, how can you speak of in the kingdom, but not in the like we're in the kingdom? But I get what he's saying if he means like that. But yeah, we're not in the kingdom verbatim.
Well, he's saying that, like, say for instance, that Christ is ruling the nations today, and that the nations are in obedience unto him. It's like, well, knuckleheads, like, how the hell could the nations be in obedience to Christ today when here it is? There's like, how many billions of people in the world who either worship false gods, which the Bible clearly condemns, or nations that outright ban God's word. So, like, if Christ was actually ruling over all these nations, well, why are all these nations ruling in complete contradiction to what Christ said? I mean, that shows it's just such an inconsistent statement to have.
Yeah, I think people mix up the whole nation and God's rule, like God's sovereignty, but that doesn't mean there aren't other nations. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any nations, right?
Right.
Ugh, so silly.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Um,
Here's a fun one. Anyway, I was going on my stream before that. They were talking about death, burial, and resurrection, and whether or not that was a prerequisite uh, for salvation or not.
when you use that word, you describe for the audience what you mean by that.
Which word? Because you said a word, but you didn't
You said
say
like
what word.
resurrection or something like that.
A prerequisite.
Yeah.
Prerequisite. That's like it's something that's comes before the thing, and it's required. So it's essentially like you have to like kind of like when you go into college and you need to do like
Right.
some type of math before you take
Yeah.
another type of math. It's essentially like that. You need to
Okay.
have the following credits in order to in order to have faith, you need to believe in the salvation and death and resurrection. And if you don't believe that, then you're not saved.
Right. I understand. So, what were they saying about the death and resurrection, that it was required or something?
Well, it was odd. It was that they affirm it, but they don't need to preach it or something. It was really weird. Like they affirm that yes, Jesus Christ rose and died, but it's not contingent on salvation. Believing in Christ is contingent on salvation. So it's like
And let me
going
take
back
a
to
guess.
Christ. Go ahead.
Let me take a guess. I believe you might have said it, but I forgot. My guess is this happened on Ace Vio's panel, correct?
No, that was a Toronto's Bible studies.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't heard of that dude in a while. That sounds like something that Ace Vio would say.
Yeah, I was
Oh
actually gonna.
man.
I was gonna ask him that as well, and I believe he would say no. He's gonna say no. I think he's live right now. I might go ask him if he's gonna
Yeah,
have
man,
me.
you might want to jump up there and ask the dude about that. That knucklehead, which I actually uploaded a video about him yesterday, because he was telling me when we had a chat maybe 6 months ago about the rapture came up, and Knucklehead was telling me, oh yeah, everybody in the world is going to be risen up, even the prisoners in the El Salvador Sea Cop prison that killed 50 people each. Oh, they're all going to rise up when Jesus comes back. The Catholic priest. That are doing all this evil. Oh, they're all going to rise up when Jesus comes back. It's like, wow, the fact that somebody could say something so ignorant like that and sit there and regurgitate nonsense like that is just really shocking to me.
Yeah, he is in his faith, man. God bless him for it. As much as it seems inaccurate to us, I hope he's living the life Christ wants him to live. Um, it's the best thing I can say. The best blessing and the best curse, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you. Yo, we got Jill down there. How you doing, Mr. Jill? Was there before he claims all ran from a discussion? There's not much time left here on the stream, Mr. Jill, so perhaps you should just stay down there and listen. But if you have a question or comment, feel free to post it in the chat and I can address.
Now you said something earlier. I came in and I wanted to address. It was about like people not having the knowledge of. You said something about. I think it was tying it back to the government, and then people not listening to like your modern day man.
Let's see. Yeah, I was
Is
saying
it?
something along the
Go ahead.
lines of people's moral values are determined by the state and government that they live in. Like, say, for instance, I'll give an example. Like, if there's like a new edict and decree for such and such thing, everybody will now regurgitate that as like unquestionable gospel that everybody has to abide and live by. But yeah, if you asked them 5 weeks ago, they didn't really believe in that. But now, since they declared it as the rules, now everybody believes and repeats that. So their moral value and view on whatever the topic might be changes based upon what the government makes up. That's what I was alluding to.
And in that, you're saying that in that body of government, they're not the normal class people because they're overseers. And so
Who's it?
like their ability to say what we can believe is essentially, you're saying that's arbitrary. Or and if you don't understand, arbitrary, meaningless, random.
Well, yeah. I'd argue that every law of government of any country is arbitrary and random. That, an unlearned person will try to say, "Oh, well, what about laws against murder?" It's like, well, yeah, that's just a natural thing, and that's wrong. But
What do
I'm
you mean?
talking
How do you
about,
find
like,
by natural? Because that doesn't make sense.
doesn't make sense. Well, it's just morally wrong to, like, say, for instance, like, it's just morally wrong to steal the bike off your neighbor's porch. Every religion and culture could agree and acknowledge that. Would you agree with me on that?
I mean, what makes it bad?
What makes it bad? Because it's someone else's property that you don't own.
Yeah, but they could go steal someone else's bike and steal the bike back from me.
And you said, and steal the bike back from you.
Yeah, they could take it back
Well,
from me.
how are they going to do that if they don't know where you live?
Well, they could find out, or they could just steal another bike.
Okay, well, let me make sense of this. So, you as a Christian, you'd obviously say that stealing is
No, no, no,
wrong,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm throwing this as a hypothetical. Let's just, yeah, I'm being I'm engaging the
Okay.
conversation with this thought. Yeah, I'm totally
Right,
not.
I hear
It's
you.
not aligning with. Yeah, okay.
Right, I hear you. I hear you. So yeah, but I'm saying, like, governmental mandates are just a thing that's made up. Like, I'll give an example. Like, I brought up earlier about the drinking age. They tell you it's 21. It's like, okay, well, how is it morally wrong for a person, say, 3 months before that, to have free drinks? Like, I don't see how anybody can make a rational argument to defend that. They just believe that because that's what the nation
Oh,
that they grew up in
that's
taught
more.
them that.
It's probably more of an insurance thing, right?
What do you mean
Because
insurance thing?
if you get more messed up under the legal limit and you start drinking, one, you're breaking the law, right? And that leaves you more liable. At least when you're of the age and drinking, you're considered to be at a cognitive responsible uh um situation, right? It also shows that you're willing to take your place in society and wait your turn like everyone else did, and not judge something early. Although people might drink for whatever reasons. For example, a child at the age of 13 might take in actual wine communion in Roman Catholicism. So there's if you want to consider that alcohol taking before the age of drinking, then there's that. Those are those types of instances. Although I don't know if that's the practice nowadays anymore. That's just something
Okay,
I knew
but
when I
real
was
quick, but
younger.
who with
Just as a
that
special
view, who?
pleading example, like an
Okay,
exemption.
but bear with me for a second. With that view, who gets to determine what is of age or not, though?
The
Like, is it
state.
just a couple of exactly? So it's just an arbitrary thing that people made up,
No, it's not
correct?
arbitrary. It's not. No, it's not arbitrary because it's an agreed
Okay,
upon. It's
o-
agreed upon constituents that not every state has. Now, if it's federal, that's different. But if it's we're going by the states in the United States, it's irrational because the people of that state are coming up with the decision. It's not like a federal
okay.
overhanging.
So no, I'm gonna completely annihilate you here. So by that same line of logic and reasoning, you must agree that, and so say in some states where bestiality is legal, you must agree that that morally is okay there because that's what that state agreed upon. You must agree to that then by your logic.
I agree. In those states, it's morally legal for them to do those things, even though I'm
It's
against the
more
act and
it's
practice.
morally wait, but let me understand this. So let's just say, let's give a random example. Like, let's say in the state of Idaho, we'll just throw that random one out there, that you could legally sleep with a dog or a goat. So you'd say that morally that's allowed and acceptable in that state because that's what they declared.
That's in that state, yeah. Even though it's irrational in other states and in my own, yeah, that they're allowed to have their own state of allowances.
So you wouldn't. So but you'd still insist that it's not like a random and arbitrary decided upon thing.
No, it's decided on the people. It wouldn't be arbitrary because there's a
Okay,
reason
so
why
so
they agreed to it.
let's test your intelligence a little
No,
bit
no, no,
further.
no. If no, because if it was arbitrary the way you're using it, if it's just randomized, then it wouldn't even be a law. Because how are we getting random laws in the place that no one's voting on? At that point, yeah, it's randomized. So the
Okay,
fact that people are
but
justifying
no.
this by a vote makes it non-arbitrary.
All right, well, Jill, let's. Well, I'm not Jill, but no. Let's test your reasoning. So, by that same line of logic, let's say if the Congress vote, they have an overall vote that let's say there's 10 genders that a person can identify as, or 5 different genders you could identify as. Does that now make it morally true because they take a vote and that's what the overall majority agreed on? So now that when that becomes the rules, now all of a sudden that's morally acceptable because they all
No,
agreed to that.
that would make it more ethically.
I don't think you're really making sense of what you're saying. I think you're
It's
just
ethic. It's ethically
copping
moral
out.
because it's the ethic. Personal moral and ethic moral are completely separated. You don't have to have the shared conviction with your state. It would be ethically moral for you to follow the law, which means that the gender you're already assigned is falling in one of those 10 assigned genders anyway. Unless you're saying those would be reassigned, you're already in a part of that group and inclusive into that group. So to deny yourself a position in that wouldn't make sense either way. Because you
No, but
still
I'm,
would be
I'm
a part
trying
of it,
to
even if
I'm
you're
trying to
morally against the
understand
other one.
your flawed logic and reasoning. So you believe that as long as the government and Congress come together and come to an agreement on something that's totally made up and fabricated and doesn't exist, now morally, as long as it's now the law, now it is in some aspects, morally acceptable. That's just retarded to believe as a Christian. No
I said
disrespect, but that's stupid.
I said ethically. Ethically, yeah, because again, we're talking about a democracy. It might be stupid, but underneath a democracy, that's sound.
That's sound. So let me ask you that. So
Yeah, you don't
so
have you
let's
don't have
say
to. I'm hell, look, I'm in agreement with you, right? We're on the same page. I'm agreeing with you. It's stupid, but it's if you're in a democracy, then that's what people vote on. You can be against it, but the votes have the eyes at the end of it. And so, yeah, that I said it might be stupid and whatever. I'm agreeing with you there, but that ethically to follow that is sound. You can try to vote against it, and because again you're putting this in the realm
but
the
real quick,
ethics
so
of
you'd say that
government.
it's not okay, but real quick, but you'd say that it's not random and arbitrary though, like randomly
No,
and arbitrarily decided on.
it wouldn't be randomly and arbitrary if there's a vote, because
Okay, so like
that's the part that doesn't
let's
make it.
say for instance, if there is a vote that tries to say that God doesn't exist, and let's say it's overwhelmingly decided upon that, like say 70% say that, well, God doesn't exist, 30% say that he does exist. Since that's the overwhelming vote says God doesn't exist, does that now mean it's logical to assume God doesn't exist because that's what the overwhelming vote
Oh,
agreed upon?
right. No, you're right to call that out, and I'm not on me, but under the situation. Yeah, no one should think that because of the votes that had it. That's not what I'm trying to represent at all. I'm just saying in that democracy, because it's not just because people vote on something not being existing doesn't disprove or prove that its existence in the first place logically. So if you're already thinking that, oh, their vote means no God, then that's bad. You're using poor logic to begin with. Because you would have to ask how that, where's the evidence to say that that God didn't exist, right?
Okay, but the same line of logic though, if you could agree that wouldn't make sense, why would you then also say on the other hand that it would make sense for them to agree that there
Because
are like
it's
five
in their
genders?
it's within their democracy. Because it's in their
So
democracy to
as
vote
long
on
as
it.
they
They
declare
can
it
still vote.
democracy,
Well,
that
yeah, hold up.
then
Hold,
nonsense
they
can
could
be
still
true. I mean, you're not making sense of yourself.
they could still vote You're confusing two things, right? You're confusing the group with
I think
reality.
you're confusing two things, my friend.
No, you are. Like I said, it's the group versus the reality. Reality would still be, yeah, contingent upon if a God exists or doesn't exist. The vote doesn't make it that way. Just like the vote of more than two genders or sexes doesn't make it so. In the same breath, just because they voted on it, that's still biologically true. But in the democracy, in the group that they designated their ethic on, and they're voting on this and taking place, then yes, they should follow their vote unless they decide to vote against it, because then they're setting up standards, which goes into ethic and morals that they should follow. And there again, if this is we're talking about law, this is for the whole group, not for the entirety of the world, right? It's not like because we could be outside the United States or something and just be like Canada, like you're stupid, America. Why are you doing that? And right now we're Canada. You get what I'm saying? Saying you're stupid, America. I understand that. But we're citizens also saying that's stupid. Let's vote against this stupid stuff.
Okay, I'll take your answer. I disagree with you, but for sake of conversation, I'll take your answer.
I guess.
I mean, I'm just straight. I just don't understand how a Christian, you could sit there and say that. Well, some states, bestiality is okay. Sure, the Bible might be against that, but if it's allowed in where you live, then perhaps you could do that. Even though it's against the Bible. But hey, if it's okay where you're at, then you can do it. I mean, that's just a naive and ignorant perspective to have, no.
Yeah, and if you hold that, you shouldn't hold to that. I don't know why you that would come out your mouth and think that anyone would be thinking that.
And what anybody would be thinking what?
What you said,
What I say? Do you know what I said? Can you repeat it?
that some Christians would be so dumb to be like, well, because it's not legal in my state, I can do it because I can put that before God because God told us to follow the authorities and not Him. Like that seems kind of silly. I get, yeah, sure. I'll
Well, I
give you the
mean,
benefit of
it,
doubt.
it
Yeah,
sounds
some people could.
to you. Okay, so hold on a second. So before I responded, you admitted there the last thing you said that you said something along the lines that some people might think that like that.
Yeah,
Is
I
that the
mean,
last thing you said?
to be rational, yeah, there has to be like maybe a percentage of someone being that
Right. So
naive
so if
or
so, hold on,
tempted
Milt.
into
I'm saying
sin.
like if you agree with me, there's maybe even a minority who might even believe that. So how could you say that's a stupid thing that I said if even you agree that there's some people who view like that?
I said stupid to think that if you're framing that with me. I'm sorry if I didn't make that come out.
Okay.
I meant to say that. Yeah, I'm not, I don't think that. I don't think that that like I said, I even said that earlier. Like if you're that can still be the case, but you don't have to agree with the state or do what the state says just because it's okay. Right? You can smoke cigarettes at 18 doesn't mean you should smoke cigarettes. You can drink alcohol at 21 doesn't mean you can drink alcohol. In the same way that sometimes something's forbidden, like in a Muslim country, not consuming alcohol is completely illegal to drink. So if anyone does do drink, maybe they're chasing the sin and the taboo, and that's what I would agree with you. There had to be in that weak minded sense to be like, well, I can do this because blah blah blah, and they're in violation there. And they were probably already seeking that to begin with by some odd temptation. But now I
Okay,
wouldn't
but
say
go ahead.
because again, as if we're in those states, we're supposed to be representative. It's God's light, right? And speak against those things, even though they're
Right.
going on, right? So
Yeah.
as they're going on, we need to speak against those. So that's why I'm saying, yeah, let them go on, but we need to show them for their hypocrisy in the Lord or whatever, and the state and why they ought not. But that's a weird one too, because the whole separation of church and state, you need to come from a different angle maybe. But I don't know that much about politics and that people could come to agree with you.
Well, real
Yeah,
quick,
we shouldn't do this anymore.
expand upon your statement. You said separation between church and state. For the audience listening, describe what that means exactly.
Really, like there's like no church authority can oversee the government and vice versa. No government can oversee any church authority. So the government can't come into your religion and tell you how to worship, how to do whatever. Uh, they can, however, stop the uh death and innocence of civilians and animals. So that is something that they can do. But likewise, you can't go into the government and tell them how to run things because of your religion. Like like you in your office, your religious beliefs shouldn't influence or shouldn't overcome the government state, but it's a voted thing. If many people vote on the subject that might be related to it, then yeah. What I'm saying is you should you get what I don't know if I'm wording that last bit correctly. I'll be fair in that. I don't think
Right,
so.
I understand, but don't you find it weird how the churches promote the government's agendas and beliefs? Like, say, for instance, what I got to use code language, but in 2019, I remember the churches in my area, you're not allowed to enter without having a Corolla vaccine and, wearing a face diaper. And so, no, but I'm serious. So the churches,
Yeah.
they're in bed with the government. Whatever the government or state make up, that's what they go in order by. So I'd say that the government is running these things and clearly has power over these things, and they bow down like humble children to the oppressor. That's what I clearly say. That vast majority of these churches out here clearly have fallen victim. That's what I clearly say. Would you disagree with that?
To some degree, there might be a
All
little bit
right.
of an
Well,
influence.
elaborate on what your disagreement.
Um, I'd say to some degree because I can see it like when you get a lot of political um Christians or like that can become a problem because in some instances you might be putting your political party um over your Christian values and mixing the two. They shouldn't be mixed. I like you as much as we want to spread the good word, like the nations are the nations and we're supposed to be the light in the nations, not the ones in control. And as much as we're given authority, that authority can be abused and the image of God can be abused, especially in power, which is worse because then it makes it look false,
Okay.
right? Because it's really disingenuous to say, "Oh, the good Christian teaching's doing well" when it does only well, but when it's bad, right? Oh, now it's not true, and that's usually how the dynamic is in people's mindsets. I feel I might be ignorant in that, but still, like in saying that, I
Okay.
accept
Fair
that.
enough.
It's a little
So
ignorant.
let me ask you this, Neil. Would you say that America is a Christian nation?
Oh, definitely not.
All right. Well, at least you have the smarts to acknowledge that. I'll give you credit. Because Mr. Jill, on the other hand, America, bless
It's
America.
founded on
Trump's the
Christian
savior.
principles. It's founded on Christian principles, but it's not a Christian nation.
Hmm. I mean, for Christ's sake, I don't know if you
It's a
kept up to
majority
date with the
Christian,
White
I
House
believe,
over the
though.
years, but even over the years, they display a rainbow colors on the White House to celebrate the pride. So hell, that should that should show you there for anybody that's on the fence, or behind the curve when it comes to it. Like it's an easy thing to be able to tell. It's not a You don't need to have a high IQ to be able to tell that.
It's a weird thing because all of it, nothing exists without God's knowledge and God's consent.
Elaborate.
Like the same way we die, nothing can
Yeah.
die without God's consent. Nothing exists or lives without God's consent
Right.
because He's the creator. And as creator, He has full authority over that. Like, I'm not saying like He's sitting at a desk signing off over every little thing. I'm just saying, as causality, as
Right. I
necessary
hear you.
being. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's something that like all the transgenders, like if we speak ill of them to a certain degree, we might diminish the opportunity of salvation. Not that it's not there, right? Obviously, because I'm saying but it might be diminished in their mind, and that not being a potentiality for some of the again unfortunate people. So there is something that God tests us with, uh, although it's viewed as a negative, but again to bring the light out of it.
Right. I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, nothing should be hidden in darkness for too long. The way I see it, I think I'm coming to come to like a universalist perspective that with annihilationist, like like in my sense, like perhaps God doesn't destroy people, but destroy evil. Like if we're all renewed in the sense because our evil is being burnt off, but if our identity is only in evil, then what's left for God to renew, right? And I can agree, like that's where there's going to be nothing left because if your identity is in nothing but evil and disobedience to God, then there probably won't be anything to renew, right? Or at least maybe like I don't you could play hypothetical game with it
Well,
all
Joe,
day long.
no, let me ask you on that. Would you say God hates the sin or the sinner?
The sin.
So God don't hate the sinner?
That's I know, like it's difficult to say because like I said, it becomes identity in some sense because of the whole Jacob I love, Esau I hated, right? And the
let me
doctrine of
mention this verse.
the
Well, let me
Nicolaitans that I've
mention
hated. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, let me mention this, then you can elaborate. Like, say, for instance, I could bring up Proverbs chapter 16, verse 4 says, The Lord created all things for himself, even the wicked, for the day of evil. Or Psalms chapter 5, verse 5, which says, The foolish will not stand in your sight because you hate all the workers of iniquity. Or Ecclesiasticus 12:6, For the Lord hates sinners and will bring recompense upon them. It'll paraphrase in the text. Mike Shears.
Actually, yeah, I think that just actually gives me a stronger foundation in saying that the identity of people's identities in evil, there's nothing left to salvage. So yeah, in there, if they have an identity in just evil and no good, then that's hate. I would hate them too. Like if they
So
don't want to
no,
come to the
I
light
gotta
like
give you
that, then
credit
yeah, I would.
at least yo, how you doing, Alfred? But yeah, I gotta give you credit. At least you can acknowledge that God's not all love and kisses and rainbows. At least you can acknowledge that. Where most Christians, that's a stumbling block for them, unfortunately.
Well, I still think he's all loving, even with that. That hey, you can still be hate something in love, right? That doesn't even make sense not to hate something in love. Like, why else
I
would you
mean,
hate it, right?
well, real quick, clarify that. To hate something in love, like say for instance, which is ironic because you brought up the verse Romans 9:13 where it says, "Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated." So, like, would you say when it says Esau I hated, does he hate him in love there?
Think so.
Well, clarify for the audience. What does it mean to hate somebody in love?
The same way if someone's choosing to do evil, God has given them over to that because he freely chose to let them. And that's love within itself because he's choosing them to do that. So as much as he hates that they do that, he still loves them because he doesn't just burn up right now, right? For even disobeying or choosing not to do good, right? Eventually the time comes where there does become a burn, consuming of that evil. And like I said, I think if that identity is fully within that evil, there's nothing left to um
Well, real quick
consolidate.
on that statement though, are you aware that like Obadiah 1:18 says that all of the host to Edom would be annihilated and there would be none remaining from the branch of Edom, right? From the race of Edom. So like, well, what's your thoughts on that? Because when we as Hebrew Israelites read that God hates Esau, we take that as literal, that he despises him and is going to punish him, but you view it as he just like loved him less or something like that. I mean, there would be definitely a point of disagreement there, but you can
No,
elaborate.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying that there isn't without consequences to your evil, right? There obviously is the consequences, and God will allow you just the same way. God will allow you to have your own delusions. You know how it says in that Romans, and He gives them over the strong delusions. At least I think it's
Right.
Romans. It might be Peter. It might be
I think
Second
it's
Peter
Second
actually.
Thessalonians 2:11 that the Lord shall send them a
Maybe.
strong delusion that they believe a lie. Might be another one as well.
Yeah. Um. And just like that, like it's that handing over that in that we find our consequences of that evil that we slip into. And just as much as those slipping away, there's opportunity for God to draw us back. And it's only if we acknowledge that we've done wrong and we need to draw back. Because if we're rejecting the Lord, then there's a rejection. They're just probably not going to adhere to that. And
No,
I'm talking about like, go ahead.
would you say that just while we're on Esau, do you believe Esau was done away? And if so, at what time period? And if they're still around, can Edomites be saved?
I mean, theoretically, Edomites are still around through Jacob.
Okay. And where would you
Like,
point to
like
them
right,
being?
because Esau's the same blood, same womb from Jacob, right? It's not different blood, it's not different DNA. So it's the practices I would imagine that Edom was doing that would not continue. But I don't know what the practices necessarily were to say that. I mean, you might
Well,
know, but
well, we believe
I'm
that.
not up to date
Well, just so you know, our understanding, we
again.
believe Esau is still around and they're running the world. Like, say, for instance, Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 9 says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows." So we believe that Esau is in rulership over the world today in these last times. But I was asking you because most Christians believe that Esau was done away in like the time of David or Solomon. So I was seeing if you held that perspective.
Well, if you're talking about like that, the like in the same breath as Babylon is still like the same breath as Esau, then sure, I can see that.
Okay, but the physical descendants are not here, you're saying?
I mean, yes and no.
Okay.
I would say yes and no. I would say yes and no. Um, yes, because of the people group, the Jews. Yeah, I would say yeah. If you're thinking there, then perhaps. Uh, and no, if you're not thinking that, then maybe something else. I don't know. What do you have in mind? Like, I don't want that yes to be qualified as like anti-Semitic, but it probably already is. But it's so weird.
Right, I hear it. Well, we believe and teach that the Caucasians are the nation of Edom, but that doesn't mean that every single person that has white skin is an Edomite, because there's such a thing as a confusion of faith Israelite. So not every single person that has white skin would be Esau, but a large majority would be. That would be the Hebrew Israelite perspective as to who the Edomites are in the world today. But as far as a Christian perspective, every time we've asked a Christian, they'll tell you that they were either like done away with, or they don't exist anymore today, or they might be an African. I even heard some people say, but yeah,
Wow.
that's typically what it is.
No, I mean, biologically, I don't even know how you would get Caucasian unless Jacob himself was a Caucasian. Because how does that even? How does you have two races at birth? That's another odd one. Um,
Well, let me ask you this though, from your perspective, with believing that the world came into existence by just Adam and Eve, if they reproduce and have kids, so like where would you say that black people come from them if at the beginning everybody was white? So like let's flip the script on you real quick. Let's just say that at the beginning everybody was white. Where did black people come from if everybody was white?
I think the whole Adam and Eve narrative of being the originers of all of mankind isn't necessarily the case. I think that's something
Okay.
that's given. But yeah, the whole land of Nod question and how where did they come from, um, alongside this Adam
Right.
and Eve, right?
Good
So I tend
question.
to think, yeah, I tend to think that Adam and Eve are a special account for chosen people and their
Yeah, I
lineage, not
agree with you.
necessarily the rest of the
Yeah, I
world.
agree with you on that. I agree with you. So my bad. Perhaps I should have asked you before I elaborated. But yeah, I would agree with you that it was just like the chosen people, but then God had other people scattered abroad the earth as well that he
Yeah,
uh, that he created.
whether Adam and Eve, what race they were, is hard to distinguish. There's no way of necessarily knowing because I don't know if races even qualify at that time besides like human. Right? You're the animal group. You're just human because there was no other race to compare it to. If God made everyone, like there's no race that He made. Right? They're just effects of the sun at that point and skin pigmentation. Like that's all that really that by skin level that we define race as. And uh I don't know. That gets weird. I guess there's some genealogy that goes in that, but then again, that's later sciences. That's not like back then. I don't know. Besides again, all that we get is skin color back then. So I don't know if we're looking at the same thing, right? I'm pretty sure someone must have thought that out, but I don't know.
Right, I hear you.
Yeah. Like I think like for example, like if Eden was or the Garden of Eden is what I'm saying. If Garden of Eden was in the Antarctic and or I'm sorry, the Arctic, not Antarctic South, but the Arctic, then perhaps they would be white. If they were near Africa, perhaps they'd be a bronzen or a black. If they were, near Caucasus Mountains or something like that, where it's shady, perhaps they'd have a different type of pigmentation of Caucasus white, right? Some type of pinkish or whatever, that yellow, as some people say, for Asians, not to be racist or nothing. Um,
Right.
or red as the Indian, as they say in America. Uh, so I don't think like races like that necessarily exists, but definitely maybe people groups. If you want to go down to like evolutionary traits, then maybe there's
No,
definitely
real
things
quick.
there.
I know I mentioned this to you before, but real quick, do you or do you not accept Second Ezra's?
I can't recall. I've heard of it. I don't know. I'd have to go through it again to see if it's but I'll accept it as for whatever to see where you're trying to message of God you're trying to pull through. Sure.
All right. Well, somebody put up a comment. Just interested to see your thoughts on it. They put Alfred put up a Second Ezra chapter 6 verse 56. It says, "For as for the other people which also come from Adam, that was said that they are nothing but unto spit, and as likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falls from a vessel." What's your thoughts on that?
It's just the people are a dime a dozen.
Right, but
Right?
but but real quick, but wouldn't you agree that shows that God doesn't love everybody though?
Doesn't love everyone.
Yeah, because he just compared the other people that come from Adam. He compared them unto a drop that falls from a vessel or spit. And a matter of fact, if you pull up the whole thing, it says that he likened the abundance of all of them unto nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something that's poured out. So I guess in substance, the thing that's being poured out makes up a grand whole.
Something being poured out. So, well, I'm just bringing it up to show that God compares the other people and says that they're compared to nothing compared to his people, basically. Or I can even go to the Old Testament, like say, for instance, there's so many quotes in there which say that if you hearken to the Lord thy God, will put you above all the other nations upon the earth. Right. So like, would you agree that God put his people above other nations of people? So he's like showing favoritism towards them. Would you agree to that?
Favoritism, sure, in the sense in which that his love is great
Yeah, that like he favors them above other people.
above other people. I wouldn't say favorite, but sure.
Okay. Well, why would you not say favor? Could you clarify?
Sometimes favor can mean something like they owe something.
Yeah, but I'm saying favorite, not the word favor.
Yeah, that's another thing. I don't know. What does God get from us?
Just gotta get from us. Well, he was supposed to get worship and obedience at the beginning, but we fell from that. So as of right now, we're just on his mercy right now until he sets up his new empire.
So yeah, I guess with mercy, do you have any favorites? Right? If everyone's at mercy, I don't know about that one. Like I guess like when it comes to that's why the favorites are the ones with love and maybe in that expression of love, but that's already granted in the love that they're doing, right? And like
Real
you
quick,
look
I
kind of
got a verse.
go ahead.
Real quick, okay, a verse for the audience, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. It says, "And it shall come to pass if thou hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God to observe and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord your God will put thee on high above all the nations of the earth." In fact, here's another verse from the comments. Deuteronomy 7:66 says, "For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all the people that are upon the earth. Oh man, that shout out to Alfred. That's a good one there. Noel, what's your thoughts on that verse?
Yeah, we are called to perfection. That's what a command is. To follow and
Right,
obey the
but
Lord
real
is
quick,
to
he
be
said that
perfect.
there are special people above all the other people on the earth. You agree with the text?
I do agree. People that do follow the Lord are been special because they know the Lord to listen and obey.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, they said it's verse 6. It's Deuteronomy 7:6, not 66.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, you got
Onward,
any other
tick
question
tick.
or comment?
No, that was actually a pretty good spiel, I'd say.
Yeah, man. I mean, we can keep going. I don't have to go just yet. I'll probably have to wrap it up at 2 hours here. So we got what, 17, 18 minutes or something like that.
15 minutes, yeah, something like that. Yeah, I'm waiting for
Yeah, man.
Theo to throw down a link. I'm blocked in his side chat, so I can't ask him for one.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what I find funny? Like when I go up there, like every 2 minutes will put me on mute. It's like, bro, just let me talk. Like I'll be, respectable. Sit here, let you speak. But then when I go to speak, you got to let me finish what I'm saying. I asked him a joke with him. Is like, are you in like, North Korea or something? Because you're, a authoritarian dictator here on the stream. Because everybody you have to bow before apes and align with his worldview or you'll get kicked or muted. You know?
I don't understand the enemy angle, even though it says enemy of the cross, because the way he frames universalism, like there is no enemy of the cross, right? It doesn't even make sense. Like, how can you say people are confessing something wrong and God's telling them to confess something, and they can't be an enemy of the cross? So it's like a very contradictory message within
You
its
know, you know
own
what I find funny though to
right.
elaborate on that, Noel? Like, say for instance, like how could, say for instance, I myself, you, or even that knucklehead Jill, how could we be enemies and opposed to him if, according to universalism, we're all going to be saved because we all accept Christ to one degree or another. So, from his
Precisely.
logic, aren't we all saved? That's stupid.
Yeah, we're all saved, but we're all wrong. Somehow we're saved, but we're wrong.
It's stupid.
I like
Yeah,
being wrong.
knucklehead don't
I
make
mean, I
sense.
mean, I guess to him, which you, it's like the same thing. If evil befalls upon you and you're righteous for it, like you've done no wrong, then God bless God anyway. Like it's like Job's thing. We should be blessing God all the more. So at least Ace Steele's helped me recognize that a bit. Like, yeah, God bless that we're wrong, but we're still saved. Whoopie doo, right? Like in his own universalism. Like as long as we're not like we could not hear the evil, still saved. Okay.
Remember, Noel, he said that you don't even have to believe on Jesus and you're going to be risen up at the end, at the last day. You're going to be saved regardless. Even if you believe
Oh
and
yeah.
worship Satan or, or Allah or whatever, you're going to be saved forever. As long as, well, again, you don't even have to believe in Jesus because everybody's being saved in
Yeah, you could live in
universalism.
Idaho with those dogs and those goats, right?
Yeah, yeah. But all jokes aside, literally, according to him, you can, right? You can live like that, according
Yeah,
to
you
that
really
knucklehead.
can. That's the
Cool.
scary part, man.
Yeah, I
And
hear
he
you.
has a right to vote. He has a right to vote. Think about that.
Well, I don't think votes matter anyway because I believe it's
Oh
all
yeah.
rigged. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's bizarre and strange, these knuckleheads and clowns. But what I find funny is like when me and you do a stream, there's like what, 5 people, maybe 10 people watching. When this knucklehead does a stream, sometimes it get up to 50 people watching and agreeing with what this jackass is saying. It's hilarious. But again, people love lies and deception, so of course they're gonna flock to these deceivers like Ace Theo.
And he's a really cool, laid back, chill dude, like without the theology present at that angle. He is really chill and laid back. He's a wonderful person in that regard.
I mean, hey, maybe so, man. But it doesn't mean he's right. Like, say for instance, I know Christian pastors who are real chill and fun guys, but hey, they're teaching a lie.
Yeah, the
But
fun
maybe
guy
they're
person.
chill and fun.
They out back and then like I guess like they all talk about don't smoke doobies and then they smoke a doobie in their car, right?
Right,
Take a swig a shot and then fucking drive. Oh freaking
right.
sorry, my bad, dude. Ugh. I remembered I was remembering to them. I got too caught up in the moment.
These are good.
Yeah. Uh, all right. Let's see. That was justified to believe you believe in free will, of course, right?
Well, there's an extent to that. I
Okay.
believe that we are predestinated, but God does give you a sense of free will. Like, say, for instance, like I can choose what I want to eat for dinner. I can choose to wear a blue or a red hat. I can choose to listen to rap music, classical music, or rock music. I can choose what game I want to play on the Xbox. So little things like that, God gives you the free will to choose. However, when it comes to your salvation and your path in life, that's already predetermined for you, and you're just living it out in real time. Like, I'll give a few examples. God told Jeremiah in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, he said, "Before you were even formed in the belly, I knew you, and I ordained you to be a prophet unto the nations." So before he was even formed in the womb, God already chosen him to be a prophet and ordained him to teach to the nations. I'll give another one. What is that? Ephesians, I believe it's 1 verse 4. It says, he has chosen and predestinated us before the beginning of the world. So that's just a couple of examples to show that we are predestinated in the Bible. But I can agree on some small aspects. God gives you a choice as to the examples I laid out
Right.
earlier. That'd be my answer.
Do you think of it? And again, I also hate to. I'm breaking my own rule here by going to a work of fiction. But it's the only thing I can compare it to because I don't know a point in real life. I guess for like maybe a flip flopper, maybe I guess I can go to like it would think it was John Kerry the time for the presidential election, but anyway, I can't remember. I'll just go to Star Wars where Obi-Wan tells Anakin that he was the chosen one. He was supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them, right?
Yeah.
And it's only in joining the Sith that he's able to actually destroy it to some degree. Like if you follow the story, but in that in that joining of darkness, is there that redemption light like with Darth Vader in that sense where by going through it you destroy it. As God goes through darkness, I think there's a verse to that. God goes through evil, um, and that's something that I've always kind of considered. Like I say always, I don't mean always. I mean, um, I wonder about like within the essence of evil and our dealings with it. Like when we go through those things, if we choose those things, when is that too late cut off button to the Lord? Essentially, I think people would ask.
Yeah, I hear you. Bear for me a second.
Hmm.
All right, go ahead. You can continue.
No, I
Well,
think that's all I have to
I'll
say.
ask you. So from your perspective, you believe that we have free will to what extent would you say?
To disobey. That's what I was trying to drive at. Like, sorry, I know that was long winded, but yeah, to
No, you're good.
disobey.
Yeah. I mean, I would say God already knows what you're going to do, but as far as us, living out in real time, we have the sense that we're in control. We feel like, right? So a good
Uh,
analogy would be like we're in God's movie. If you put a DVD player into the DVD player. Excuse me, if you put a DVD into a DVD player, you can fast forward it, you can rewind it, or you can just watch it from the beginning. If you do it 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, it all unfolds the same way each time, but you can watch it happen in real time. So we're all living in God's movie. He already knows the end from the beginning. He knows how this is all going to turn out. We're just living it out in real time. So we have a sense that we're in control, but God already knows, right? God's already
right.
5 miles ahead of us.
I don't know about that. I tend to see it as like a gift, but I get what you're saying. Like, because I don't think God like actually goes back in time and then edits things. Why would he need to do that if he already knows
Wait,
everything, right?
wait, hold on. You said God go. You don't think God goes back time and edits things or something? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I don't think God would go back in time and like change something. Like, why would he need to change if it's
Well,
already to his will?
I didn't say that he went back in time and changed something. I just
Oh,
said
I
that.
I thought like with the word reverse and forward thing. I'm sorry, I got missed in that. You just mean he's present always. I get what you're saying.
Right, like say for
Okay.
instance, like the Bible says that he declared the end from the beginning. Like a good question for you as a believer in free will. If God doesn't know the future and what's going to turn out and what's going to happen, like how would you say there's prophecies in the Bible, which the word prophecy means to say before? So if God's shown visions to his prophets about the future, if it's not already predestinated how everything's going to go and turn out, how could God give down visions of the future if it's subject to change because it's not predetermined?
If he changes his will, ultimately.
But I'm saying, like, say for instance, 2,000 years ago, God gave down visions of the future, which we would believe is in the modern world we're living in today, like the MOTB, or everything that Christ warned about in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21. We're seeing all those things exactly as Christ said would happen. So, like, if it wasn't already predestinated and determined how the end was going to unfold, how would God give down these prophecies if he didn't know how it was all going to happen? Because it's subject to change. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, that's why I said like a gift's more appropriate, a GIF, a gift,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
because those it loops almost, but it doesn't have to loop. But you can't necessarily rewind or fast forward a GIF. But in making a GIF, you already know how it's gonna end. See, so there's something. But in the gift that's our free will given is our ability to act and choose. And in that, God already knows what we do, even though we don't experience because we don't have that prior knowledge. We might try to think of it, but we don't actually have it. So we
Real
go
quick,
through the
Noel,
motions
what's
while
your
God
thoughts
has it.
about? I don't mean to talk over you, but real quick,
No,
what's
you're
your
fine.
thoughts about? Like I brought up this verse earlier, but I'll bring it back. Like if we go to Proverbs 16:4, says the Lord created all things for Himself, even the wicked, for the day of evil. So according to that verse, it sounds like God created some people to be wicked. What's your thoughts?
Uh, I wouldn't say created the wicked, but definitely allows the situations for them to arise just as much as any good situation. Like,
But are you
um,
familiar with the verse though?
yeah,
Okay, hold on. Let me. So when it says that he created the wicked for the day of evil, how would you interpret that?
just says the same way. The fact that he has to get through the redemption in. So the day of evil for their doings, right? It's not going to go unjust.
Yeah, for the audience, I'll read it directly from the text so nobody says I'm adding to it. I got it open on my right here. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 4, King James Version says, the Lord hath created all things for himself, yeah, even the wicked for the day of evil. So, we go to that and say that God created some people to be wicked, right? God didn't create everybody to be righteous and a possibility for every person to be saved. God created some people to inherently be bad, according to the text. Would you disagree with that, or what would you say?
I don't know. Like I'd say I can agree and disagree. Like I don't know
Okay.
if like what I mean like by that is I don't know if people are born inherently wicked, but definitely by situations and throughout life that wickedness comes by that, and God set up
Sure,
those
that
situations
certainly
just as
can make
much.
sense too. That can make sense. Like I know say for instance, I know people who might have went to church 10, 15 years ago. You ask them what they're doing now. Some of those guys are Freemasons or atheists, or hooked on drugs or something, So yeah, somebody can become wicked over time. Like say for instance, King Saul was a righteous man for a while, but then near the end of his life he was a wicked man and the Lord departed from him. So that's an example where that can happen. But some people could be wicked from the very beginning. Now, before we wrap up the discussion, I remember a few months back on Jay Gee's channel, we talked about the reincarnation. Did you ever get a chance to look into any of those verses and subjects brought up?
No, I could definitely do that though.
Okay, so since a few months passed from that conversation, would you say you still hold the same stance on reincarnation, or what's your stance today on it?
I don't think that there's a form of reincarnation in the way that we think of.
Okay.
There's that because if it's to be reincarnated means to be born again, like again through flesh and blood through the womb, if we're thinking a bit like that, or again in another animal, another form. I don't think it's like that. A resurrection is more the appropriate term that in which we undergo. I don't think that we enter the womb to pay for sins twice. That wouldn't we get two salvations,
Well,
or
no,
we get a
I wouldn't
second
say.
chance at salvation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So would it make sense like to have a death and then be reincarnated again just to be reborn in that sense? So it's only the
Well,
one
just so you
death.
know, our perspective, we believe that when you're reincarnated, you're playing out the judgment from your past life. Like, say if you were wicked in your past life and you might pass away, people think you got away scot free, but God's going to judge you in your next life. You could be born with a disability, a disfigurement, or blind. You could be judged that way for the way that you lived in your past life. But just a verse to throw up to you here. This is Job chapter
Can
19.
I pause you for a
Yeah.
second? Do you think
Yeah.
that ties in by God creating a day for the wicked then? Like awaiting the wicked? Because in that you're lining you can suss those things out because you were wicked in this life. Now you're saying that these blind people are wicked people because of their past lives. And the reason why they're blind is because of their own wickedness.
Well, what we think is that what we teach is that if you were wicked in your past life, you're going to be wicked in your next reincarnation. You're just going to continue the cycle. If you're a righteous man in the past life, you're going to come back as a righteous man in your next life. And why sometimes bad things happen to good people, like say for instance somebody might get a flat tire, but someone else might get ran over or hit with a stray bullet. So God will judge each person depending on their individual deeds. So that's why, say for instance,
Well,
it
how
says
many
Job,
reincarnations does one individual get in one life
how many
cycle?
one individual has, the Bible doesn't give an answer for that question. Though if we had to speculate, we'd say that it's likely that you could come back like every couple hundred years, but it's not a set in stone answer that I can give for that.
Well,
Some
how
people
many
could have.
souls okay.
Go
How
ahead.
many souls are being reincarnated? What's the set amount of souls that God had set beforehand? Because you can only have reincarnation with so many numbers and no new soul be born unless that's just part of new souls being born alongside reincarnation. Because then so many births are reincarnated individuals. Unless you're saying some
We're,
individuals only reincarnated, then why
well,
is it only
I'll
some
answer.
individuals that reincarnate and not others?
Well, I'll answer the question. It's very simple. Like I said, when you die right away, you're not reincarnated. It could happen over the course of a few hundred years. So when you pass away today, you're in a state of unconsciousness. But then in the future, God can bring your soul back on the earth, and then you live out your judgment from the past life. But it's not like, say, for instance, if someone dies today, they'll be born back tomorrow as like, someone, a
I get what
child in
you're saying.
Africa. That's
That's
not
fine.
true.
That's fine. That still
Yeah.
doesn't answer the question
What's
because
reiterate the question?
even in that hundred dot tout, I'm sorry, even in that 100 time period, there would still be reincarnated souls being born. So how many of those souls are reincarnated, or are all of them reincarnated souls? And when is the day of judgment? Unless there is
Yeah,
no
yeah.
day of judgment.
I'll answer the question. I'll answer the question. You're asking a couple things there. First, the question is how many people be in reincarnation. The answer is every soul, every person is a reincarnation. We've all been here in the past before. We can't remember our past life. I believe that's Ecclesiastes 1:11 says the former things are not remembered.
Okay.
So we
Can
don't
I
remember
pause?
our past. Wait, but let me answer the question. The day of judgment you're talking about, that's at
Okay,
the
yeah,
end
sure.
times when Christ comes back. He's going to judge the righteous, judge the wicked. The wicked are going to be physically burned with fire on this earth. But the day of judgment doesn't happen right when you pass away. So you have to understand this way. When you get reincarnated for your sins
No,
in your
I
past life,
understood that. I
you're
understood that. I
okay.
understood that.
Yeah.
What I was gonna ask, since everyone is reincarnated, and it's an all, how is Christ reincarnated? So you're saying because Christ resurrected, you believe his resurrection was flesh and blood with the holes. So is he going to come in a new born again body? or is he coming with the flesh and blood? And he's like the exception to the
Right,
rule.
I'll answer. I'll answer. I believe Christ is coming back with the holes in his hand, the same body he risen in. So in that instance, that's not a reincarnation. His soul just came back to the same body that he died in, and then he ascended to the Father. So that's not a reincarnation. The reincarnation that we're talking about would be like if you die, your soul goes back to the Father, your physical body decays back to the earth, then you're born back on the earth in a brand new body. It's just the same soul. So that wasn't Christ there. Now, I will mention this: there are some Israelite groups who do believe that Christ reincarnated in the Old Testament a few times. Some believe he was Adam, some teach he was Isaac, some teach he was Jacob, some teach he was Solomon, but I don't hold to those. I believe that Christ, he was up with the Father in the beginning, and then 2,000 years ago, he was born on the earth to live out his sacrifice for Israel, and then he's up with the Father again. So I don't hold to Christ having multiple reincarnations, but just so you're aware, there are other groups who do believe that
That's
he had
cool.
other
Thanks for
reincarnations, just to
that.
clarify.
Hmm. There was another follow up question I was going to ask with that. So, what's the number of reincarnates? What's the number of people of the wicked? Because again, all these are numbers that there's an objective number now that you can claim that we could say that the good is 144,000 good. So what's the number of the wicked then that get
Well, again, I,
destroyed?
I would I would still disagree with you on that. It's not only 144,000 because if you recall Revelation 7, he mentioned there are 144,000 men which were redeemed from the 12 tribes, but then after he said there's a great multitude of people who also got salvation. So, however many that is, whether it's 1 million, 5 million, nobody knows. It doesn't tell us the exact number, but it's more than
I that's yeah, that's
144,000.
a fair. That's fair enough.
So, what was your question about the wicked? Reiterate again, please.
It's the same breath. How do we know the number of the wicked in that breath?
But like in
They
what
get destroyed.
circumstance though?
They get
They get
destroyed, right? Because
destroyed? Well,
you believe
well, well,
ultimately
the,
they get destroyed or no?
let's
That
put it this
judgment
way.
day, of course.
Let's put it this way. We believe that the wicked are going to get burned up in fire, but some are going to be taken in servitude, and the ones who did die by the fire, they're going to be born back when Christ sets up his empire. Because remember, there's going to be other nations on earth that are subject to Christ. So they're going to be born back into those other nations, but they're going to be servants. They're going to be servant to Israel. So they're going to be allowed to live, but they got severely punished
So you slightly believe
for
in a
their life.
universal salvation.
No, because notice I didn't call it salvation. They're not being saved.
Yes, they
They're
are. I
going to
mean,
be
they're living.
servants.
That's a salvation. That's better than fucking burning in a fire for eternity by any standards, or being
But
dead.
real quick,
Being
Noble.
around and
Who
being
said
not around.
real quick? Do you believe in eternal fire? Because I don't believe that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like that's better. That's why I said it's better than being burnt up forever or just dying away. I know I didn't make it sound like that, but that's what I meant by that.
Okay,
Like just burning
fair
up or
enough,
dying
fair enough.
away. Yeah. Uh, because that's just like being a servant. I'd rather be a servant in God's kingdom in the afterlife than dead or non-existent. Right? That doesn't make sense because if this is just a taste of what God has to offer, certainly being a servant is just as fucking glorious. If you really
Well,
think
that's
about
not
it,
true
to me
because
that sounds like a salvation. Like
well again. Okay,
what I
but
mean
no,
by
but
that,
that's where
there
that's where
couldn't be
you're.
any evil.
Okay,
There couldn't be any evil in that servitude. There cannot be
okay,
any
but no,
evil because
this
there's no
this is
evil to
where you're.
exist.
Okay, but no, just chill out for a second. This is where you have the misunderstanding. When I say servitude, it's going to be a harsh thing. You do what you're told, or you're going to get punished for that. Like, I'll give an example. If you read Isaiah 49, Isaiah 60, it talks about these nations. They're going to be working out in the heat, tilling the fields, building up our walls. They're going to be our servants. And we have to, of course, we got to abide by God's laws, but whatever we dictate to them, they will
Well,
have to
yeah,
do.
like to some people, that sounds
So
like
it's
a
not going
very
to be
awesome
something
thing.
like say
Being
for
out in the
instance, they're not
sun.
going to be
Well,
able. You go ahead.
there's a problem with that because there is going to be no sun. Like I get what you're saying, but there is no sun. God even says there is no sun.
Well,
Because the only
sometimes
light
those
is going to
verses
be
are
me.
okay, but real quick, sometimes those verses are parabolics. Like say, like I know you're quoting Revelation when it talks about that the sun and moon wouldn't be no more, but that I would say that's just metaphoric. It doesn't literally mean that. Like sometimes the sun or light or the moon can be synonymous with like knowledge. So I disagree with you. That's not literal there. But I guess we could disagree on that for
Yeah, I
today's
would say
discussion.
I would vastly disagree, but I know you said you want to keep it to the 2 hour mark, and it has passed that time by 7 minutes and 30 seconds.
I mean, I don't have to end it exactly this second, but you know, I'm not. I'm saying I'm not going for like a very much longer. Is what I meant. But yeah, man.
You don't want it to
If you
wrap it
want
on,
to,
yeah.
yeah, I hear you. But one more I'll throw at you would be what Joe should remember this one, right? Revelation 2:25 to 27. Him who overcomes are going to give him power to rule over the nations with a rod of iron. You wouldn't say that's like oppressive. You wouldn't say that's like anything negative for the nations. That's like salvation to them by being ruled over by a rod of iron. Because
It
when the
is
king
good.
throughout history rules over people with a rod of iron, that can be a harsh thing.
It is
Would
a
you not
harsh thing
agree?
is good. It's a harsh thing is good to undergo. It builds character. Like I said, like for one instance, like it's like what you said about working out in the field and doing labor. Some people absolutely love doing that. So if those people were wicked and they just get blessed enough to be born again, like to be doing that for the rest of their existence, wouldn't that be like a blessing to them? So like I get what you're saying, as much as you say it's harsh because you think it is, but to me, like it all like I don't think God would put people who don't want to be there and have them suffering because that suffering's supposed to be done away with. So I imagine the people that are going to be slaves. I wouldn't disagree that they wouldn't be slaves. I'm just saying I imagine the slaves are very much happy what they're doing. They wouldn't be disappointed in there, and there wouldn't be any wickedness or our human ideas, fetishes that go into slavery like that. But like
Hey,
again,
no, real quick. So I understand from your perspective, you believe Isaiah 14 happened through history, or do you agree that that's like a future thing?
what do you mean by Isaiah 14? You'd have to describe it for me, like at the verse.
Like, say, for instance, like I'll read the top of the chapter here, which you should be familiar with this because every Christian goes here to talk about how Satan fell from heaven. Um, but anyway, Isaiah 14, verse 1, it says, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them, and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captive, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors." A matter of fact, I'll even read verse 3 and 4 says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord will give thee rest from your sorrow and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein you were made to serve. And thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon. Say, how has the oppressor ceased? The golden city has ceased."
All right, you want me to
So,
answer that?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so for one, it's not talking about the slaves coming into that nation of Israel. It's directed to the king of Babylon. So there's a distinguishing there. The king of Babylon is the one that's saying we are gonna stomp all over you by taking in your people by God's ways.
But real quick, it says, "Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon." So, what's the proverb that it's speaking about?
I believe what was just spoken of
Right,
the
right,
servants coming to.
exactly. So it's saying all this against the king of Babylon. But here's where the disagreement would come in. We believe the
Okay.
king of Babylon is talking about modern day Babylon, America. But apparently, like, do you believe that was like King Nebuchadnezzar from ancient Babylon, or his son?
I mean, it could still bleed in through the future, right? You said this is all things are reincarnated, so why wouldn't the same similar things bleed through as well?
I'm saying from my perspective, I don't believe this happened yet. I don't believe this is talking about ancient Babylon. This is talking about modern day Babylon, America, that our people are in servitude in. So that's what this proverb is talking about. It's
Would you
talking
say
about this modern
Babylon?
day.
Who is Babylon in your worldview right now?
We
People
teach
who
that
call themselves.
we believe that America is Mystery Babylon. What about you?
Who? Well, you said Babylon was under someone's spell.
Under someone's spell?
Would that be
I don't
Esau?
recall. I don't remember saying it was under someone's spell. Maybe you misheard me, but
That's a pretty way of putting it
oh,
together, like an
like
influence.
rulership, you mean like
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
yeah,
under
influence. Yeah,
authority.
I'd say that Esau has influence over America. And then the Bible talks about the
Perfect.
nations became drunk off of Babylon's wine. So America's influence travels around the world and influences these other nations to want to be like her and live their life in accordance with how Americans live their day-to-day
I
life.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement like that, but I don't. I also agree that it's the same. It's the same imagery as it was back then as now. Like I do agree
Okay.
with I do agree with you that I just think it's the same thing. Like history, ever heard the saying history repeats itself? So
Yeah.
that also, if reincarnation, the way you're stating it, is true, then perhaps similar themes are being repeated and reincarnated as well throughout history as like foundational motifs or something like that that God has set place for the second coming and as much as the coming of Christ, right?
Yeah. Well, like on that statement, right, with how nations can come back, we believe that America is like a reincarnation of ancient Rome. Like, say, for instance, uh, Rome had the plebeians and the patricians. America has democrats and republics. They both use the symbol of the eagle. The judicial system is done the same way. There are so many similarities between the Roman Empire and America. And in the Bible, like if you read Revelation 13, it talks about the beast that was not, but yet, it is again. The beast came back. So we believe that America is just a revival of the ancient Roman Empire. So America's Rome back again in the end times. That's what we'd say. So that in a way, that's like a reincarnation of Rome today. It's not called Rome, it's now called America, but it's basically a revival of it in the modern day. That's what we teach on that.
Well,
So I
it's the same
understand what you're
pagan
saying.
practices almost, but different face, facade, right? But same political power. I understand that.
Right.
Like for example, when it gets to like you could say like um if Trump gets into power and it becomes some type of Caesar moment instead of a democracy, that'd be interesting if it repeats
Right.
Roman history like that.
Right, right. But yeah, man, appreciate the conversation and I'm gonna wrap the show up, all right?
All right, take care. God bless. Continue in the walk with God in Christ.
All right, cool. See you around though.
You take up.
All right, let's see. So I'm gonna wrap this up in a minute here. If anybody made it this far near the end here, go ahead and put hashtag let's see. We'll just say Cuban, right? We'll give this Cuban individual a shout out. Anybody made it to the end of the stream, put hashtag Cuban. And I'll leave it on for a second while I grab. All right, but I'm gonna wrap it up there. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.